Welcome to show 61 of the Cloth Diaper Podcast. Today I'm joined by a Cloth Diaper parent, Margaret, and we're going to talk about her experience flying with cloth diapers. Welcome back to the Cloth Diaper Podcast, the somewhat regular show where we talk about cloth diapering from brands, retailers, and parents. I am the host of the Cloth Diaper Podcast. My name is Bailey Bowman, and this is my space for storytelling and sharing of different experiences to help encourage and empower you to try something new and different. Today's show is brought to you by Kinder Cloth Diaper Company. Kinder Cloth is a brand new cloth diaper parent-run shop based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. With nearly a year in the making, they're launching their very first pre-order later this month, a 90s-inspired pocket diaper collection. The collection features 5 exclusive color coordinating prints designed by co-owner and cloth mama, Crystal. You can learn more about these pockets and how to get your hands on them at kinderclothdiapers.com or over on Instagram at kinderclothdiapers. All right, if you've been listening to the Cloth Diaper Podcast for the last 2 years, you were probably like, hold on, what's going on, Bailey? That was an advertisement. We have not had any ads in 60 shows, but yes, today we are having an ad. I put it out there to the Cloth Diaper community that I would do a select number of shows in 2021 as pay-as-you-can ads. I figured that this would give an opportunity for both myself to be compensated for the work that I do, as well as cloth diaper brands to get to share and advertise with you. So, Kinder Cloth. Now you can check out these 90s inspired prints in the show notes as well, but super awesome, kind of cool looking brand that's coming up on the market. Check them out, see if they're a right fit for your family, if they meet your needs, and maybe it's your next stash. Anyways, let's get back to the focus of today's show. So I talked about in the first intro that I was being joined by Margaret, and we're going to talk about flying with cloth diapers, which I know is kind of a weird topic to be talking about in what still feels like the middle of the pandemic, but with different things happening, maybe we'll be able to travel again. Or maybe you have to travel right now because you're flying across the country for a new job or for some reason that really, really sucks. Or maybe you're comfortable traveling in a pandemic. Those are all decisions that we have to make. Margaret is not just your average mom, though. She is a full-time flyer. Flying is what she does, and flying with her kids is something else that she does. So today's advice doesn't just come from a mom who's flown a few times, but from a traveler. And she was just a joy to chat with. I had such a fantastic time with Margaret, and I can't wait to share this conversation to help support you in making the best travel decisions that work for your family. Because yes, you can cloth diaper in a wide array of situations, including on a plane. All right, so I joined today with Margaret, and we're going to talk about your kind of wild cloth diaper journey. Yes. I am like blown away by the fact that you cloth diaper and travel because it seems a little overwhelming for me. But what was your elevator no, what's your little, who are you? Like, what's your 30-second, I am a...
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm a mom, first of all. I have, we have one son. Our son is 20 months old. And my husband and I were actually both filmmakers. So our job involves like an insane amount of travel. And on top of that, we're also from 2 different countries. So I'm American and he's Irish. We met in London, and for most of our relationship, we lived in Ireland. Okay. Past year, we've been in Michigan, and next month, we're actually moving back to the UK. We're going to be living in Brighton, outside of London. So obviously, transatlantic travel is a massive, massive part of our lives. Beyond just work, but also personally as well. So I think by the time that my son was 6 months old, he'd been on 25 flights.
Why did you decide to cloth diaper first in the first place as a parent? And how did your lifestyle impact that, I guess?
Of course.
Because I guess my thought here is like my first thing of listening to you talk about your lifestyle is I wouldn't even considered it. So
yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. So I actually was like dead set against cloth diapering when I was pregnant. My husband has a daughter from a previous relationship. She's going to be 10 next month. And her mom actually had a baby like almost exactly a year before I had my son, and cloth diapered. And my stepdaughter was like she was like, you have to cloth diaper. Like you are the exact sort of person who'd love cloth diapering. And I was like, listen, honey, I can't stay on top of like my weekly clothes laundry. I don't know how you expect me to wash diapers. Always traveling, and so I just was like, there's just no way it's going to happen. But the more I thought about it, look, I don't claim to be a zero waste person, but there are some wastes that get to me, and disposable diapering is definitely one of them. I mean, when my son was a few days old, just the number of diapers we had already gone through blew my mind. And knowing that they were going to stick in a landfill for like 450 years, just releasing methane gases and all these things, I was like, I can't do that. Like, I just, in my heart, I knew it was wrong. So that's when I kind of was like, all right, look, we'll try it. And if we like it, we'll stick with it. And like, I mean, the rest is history. We absolutely loved it. I'm obsessed with it.
So what kind of stash do you have?
Well, I have 2 stashes, right? I have like my home stash. I have my travel stash.
Well, that makes sense. Helps paint the picture a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, for my home stash, like it's pretty straightforward. I get a lot of my stuff from Buy Nothing groups. There's actually a local baby store here that has a free diaper section and a secondhand diaper section. So I think all in on my stash, I spent less than $100. I mostly pockets, to be honest. I have a lot of Bum Genius. There's some Alva Baby, Mama Koala, Kwai Baby, those ones in there as well. But I used to use old infant pre-folds as the inserts. Recently, now that my son's a toddler and those aren't really cutting it anymore, I've swapped using flats as the inserts, which works wonderfully, especially eating into my travel stash. But honestly, I've used everything. I've used t-shirts. I've used some diapers from when I was a baby that my parents inexplicably held on to.
What's your favorite then? What's your like go-to? What's the first one you grab?
At the moment, it's the Bum Genius with the Green Mountain Diapers muslins as inserts. Those those get him through anything. Those get him through 4-hour car rides. You know what I mean? Like they are reliable.
Yeah, I've heard great things about those.
They're really good.
Green Mountain muslins.
They're insane.
Muslins.
Like nothing has ever come close in terms of that. I mean, we also have a lot of like, fitteds that we have. I've probably tried every style except for all-in-ones before I settled on where I am now, to be honest. Yeah.
So then how does your travel stash differ?
Yes. So my travel stash. So what? I like to consider us like minimalists. So we travel very, very light. So for me, my husband and my son, we usually pack 1 backpack, 1 diaper bag, and 1 computer bag, and no checked luggage. And that's all of our luggage. So
how long are you going for?
Oh, I mean, that could be a 2-week trip.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
right.
I don't even know what I packed to go across town. Okay.
I know it wasn't always like that. I remember the first time I traveled with Cloth, I brought 2 big checked bags, and one of those checked bags was just all my pocket diapers. And my husband was like, "We are not doing this again. This is hellish." And I was like, "Right, okay." So
that's true. I mean, 25 flights later, you're gonna find
exactly.
So what is that groove?
So basically, I have sort of 2 travel stashes. Right, one of them is that is the travel stash if I know that I'm going to have laundry facilities. One of them is the travel stash if I'm not going to have laundry facilities. So if I'm going to have laundry facilities, I'll pack, about 20 cloth wipes, like 3 shells. Usually I like the Thirsties Duo Wraps. Those are always my favorite.
Those are good.
They're really good. Yeah. They're really good. I pack 10 flats. Usually the muslins are a bit bigger, so I tend to go with the bird's eye flats. About 2 fitteds, 1 or 2 fitteds. If it's 2, if I'm going to be hand washing because it takes longer to dry, plus 2 boosters for flying. And then an overnight cover, a full-size wet bag, a travel-size wet bag, and then Ziplocs with powder detergent or, and if I need it, depending on where I'm going, some water softener as well.
That's totally reasonable.
Right. The only time I brought Sal Suds for camping.
Sorry, what?
Dr. Bronner's Sal Suds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend them in a machine, but for hand washing when you're camping or something, they work great.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's also really important to bring disposable liners, flushable liners, if you're going to be traveling. Otherwise, like I'm a diaper sprayer girl, like all in, and the dunk and swish is just not going to be for me.
Even I dunk and swish, but when I travel, I bring liners because you always end up in weird places.
Mm-hmm. Or like on an airplane.
And it's just like, it's just easy.
Well, exactly. And honestly,
it's just like a little easier.
Even with disposable liners, you're probably going to have to dunk and swish at some point.
Yeah. But like you got a good portion.
Right. Exactly. The majority
dealt with. Yeah. And, so that it makes it a little easier.
And if I'm going to be hand washing, I bring my scrubber bag, my octopus clothes hanger, and some rubber gloves. So
Scrub a bag. I got one of those.
It works great as a wet bag as well if you're in a hotel room or something. So it kind of can do double duty. Yeah, pardon the pun.
And then you kind of know when you need to wash because it's like, well, bag's full.
Is full.
Good.
Yeah.
And you find that really is like a good flow. Do you feel like it's too much work? I guess you're traveling for work. You're not traveling on a vacation.
Right.
So,
well, and that's kind of the flats are honestly, I don't think I could travel without flats and shells because when you're traveling for work, it's like travel takes up enough of your day and then you're working once you get there. So I don't have time to be babysitting laundry. Right. So I want something that's going to wash really easily, really quickly, and is going to dry fast and I can stay on top of quite well. Honestly, you could probably pack even less than that. You can get away with, if you have laundry facilities, you can get away with 1 day's worth of diapers. You just wash them every single morning. And I have done that before if I knew I was going to have a washing machine. But if I know I'm going to be hand washing, if I'm going to be staying in a hotel room, then I overpack. And overpacking with flats, I mean, like, come on, they're tiny. They roll up in these tiny, they're like a pair of socks, you know?
It's like, right. It's not, you're not taking
up a ton of room. Exactly. So it's better to just bring a couple extra. And I mean, like, each one gives you an extra 2.5 hours. So that's 2.5 hours more dry time.
It's not that bad, right? Like it is. How did you, okay. So when my child was 6 months, we went to Italy and I decided not to bring cloth diapers. I mean, we were going on a vacation. That was part of it. But also like, oh my God, I wasn't mentally prepared for what a washing situation could look like. So how do you come over with that fear, or how did you get over that fear of washing in foreign places? I mean, I guess you started off your story that you did live abroad. So that may have, you knew what you were getting into a little bit.
Yes. So like all different types of washing machines and water types and stuff. Honestly, there's resources you can use to check out what the water is going to be like where you go, like the hardness levels and stuff. I have packed water hardness testing strips in my
oh, really?
Yeah. Because, like, for example, this past, like 2 weeks ago, we were up in the mountains in Colorado, really, really remote. And I didn't know, were we going to be on well water? Was the water going to be hard? Was it going to be soft? And like, so I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I just hit my mic. So I don't know what it's going to be like to wash there. And right off the bat, I can, tweak my routine based on what the water hardness is like. As well, when I get somewhere and I don't recognize the machine, I Google it. There's a lot of resources online for like if you see a machine, if you can get the name or the make model of the machine, you can Google it to see what a good wash routine looks like with that machine without having to test your whole routine over again. But to be perfectly honest, I mean, unless you're going for a couple of months, would be my right. Your diapers can survive a bad routine for like 5 days. They're going to be fine. You might strip them when you get home if you're hand washing them in the wilderness. But
and you're just doing flats. Exactly. So flats they're fine. They're way less prone to all of those.
Exactly.
I think I just got off the phone with Liz from Assembly and she was talking about natural fibers and they're so forgiving.
They really are. I mean, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to my flats was when I travel, I washed them, like all of my laundry together for my second wash and to help bulk it out. And I threw in my red sweatshirt and all of my flats are now bright pink. And I'm weirdly devastated by it. I don't know why, but that's the worst thing I've ever done to my poor flats.
I think so. I mean, I'm wearing a red sweater, but it never bleeds. This is one of these. Oh, that's one of those good moments.
See, I wish I had that sweater instead of my stupid.
They're bled all
exactly. Oh, it's just they're very pink now. It's like good thing gender doesn't mean much.
Well, hopefully they should fade over time. They should fade over
that's
time.
what I keep telling myself to cheer myself back up.
Fade, bleach out. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was also like super new mom, but it is a lot. We overthink it.
Yes.
Like what goes into a washing routine. Yes. We definitely overthink it when it's just really like short, long cycle, hot water, done, little detergent.
And if you have a detergent you love, bring it with you. Or if you can buy it there, buy it there. Like you don't have to.
Well, even just like, I love that you're bringing it. You had mentioned already you were packing it just because it's one less step. So I think about that trip to Italy. And one of the reasons that I regret bringing cloth diapers was sourcing disposable diapers while on vacation was like the last thing I wanted to do.
Completely.
Like trying to hunt down a grocery store that had diapers.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes we'd find one, but they wouldn't have diapers. Yeah. Well, or they wouldn't have the right size. Yeah. I can remember we ran out of diapers and going down to like the little corner store and they only had size 6.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's like 15 pounds. I had brought covers with me because I knew that I could at least...
Right, exactly.
Just like this massive diaper, that's all they had, like in the bottom shelf. I'm like, oh.
It's so true.
So when you have everything with you, it's like one less errand that you have to do when you get there.
Exactly. And you already know you can do it, right? So it's like kind of something that I tell people, right, when they ask about this, is that it's like if you cloth diaper already, you already know how to cloth diaper. Like you don't have to overthink it. Just kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Like it's not as complicated as you might make it out to be. And you don't have to do anything fancy or new. Like if you like pockets, unless you're using microfiber, because we all know about that, you can just use your inserts. You can use your inserts in a shell. You don't have to master some fancy origami fold and buy a bunch of snappies, as if you'd want to be learning how to do that on an airplane change table to begin with, right? So it's just about kind of going with what you already know and what you're comfortable with, and then just adapting it based on the certain environment that you're in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I find like when I traveled with kids that a lot of them, I thought that it would kind of be the same as pre-kid, but it's not. When you travel with kids,
it is not.
Your routine stays the same in that you do end up with a lot of downtime waiting for children to sleep. And you're not going out partying at night. You're doing laundry because you would just be watching TV. So it's all like my idea of traveling. Yeah, it was, I was like, we won't have time to do it, but you do have time to do it because you're traveling with a 6-month-old who doesn't want to go out for dinner.
Oh, completely. I mean, that is when I wash them. I wash them because he goes to bed at 7:30. So like I wash them after 7:30 or, I hang them up during his nap. Like you have more time and you have to build that time into your day anyway. So instead of relaxing and having a cocktail, you might as well wash them. Right?
Well, because otherwise you'll be running around Rome looking for disposable diapers. So you have no idea where they are or where they keep them.
Or like what?
It's all very confusing. Or what kilograms. I think that might have also been it when I was in Italy, is understanding kilos. I know I'm Canadian, but that doesn't, we live on a we measure some things in kilos.
Throw it all together. It's fine.
We're mixing pot of things. Did you ever pack disposables when you travel, or have you ever had any regrets about bringing cloth or wanted to just, hey, I'm going to do it?
I mean, look, there was a moment where my son, unfortunately, got ringworm. And so he needed a special cream, and I did not want to jeopardize my poor diapers. So I did bring disposables. Big regret. Only just because I don't know how people put up with the blowouts from disposables. Like, I know every cloth diaper parent says that, but geez Louise, it was a joke. And it took up just as much space in my travel bag as my cloth kit does. Like this whole big pack of diapers, I mean, there was another.
I think about a time in Montreal where my son had a blowout at dinner time in a restaurant, and I didn't know what to do.
You're just like, why is the poop on this side? It's supposed to be on this side.
And there was no change table.
Oh God, no,
like, what am I going to do with this child drenched in poop? I don't even know.
So that was one time. There was another time as well where we were in Reykjavik in Iceland, and I misjudged how cold it was there, and the air drying time. And really wished I'd have disposable at that moment. I ended up using my husband's t-shirt, which it worked fine.
It does.
The extra 2 hours I needed to get his diapers.
Every year during the Flats and Hand Washing Challenge, people in colder climates quickly learn that,
you do.
That the parents in Florida, well, even actually Florida, I shouldn't say that because Florida can be pretty humid and it can also have its own challenge. But sometimes things will take forever to dry.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of months back, we did Chicago one weekend and then Denver the next weekend. And Chicago, it was like my diapers were hanging up in our hotel room for, I swear, 24 hours and they weren't dry. And then the next weekend, they dried in like less than 2 hours and my brain was blown. I couldn't believe it. Was amazing. I was like, we're moving here.
Why did it have to be like that? Yeah, those are like, and I mean, and that's where, throw a few extra flats, right? 2 extra flats.
They're tiny. It's fine.
They're tiny.
You always find room.
Yeah. So what's your biggest tip for changing a baby on a plane?
Well, it depends on.
Or a toddler now that you have a 20-month-old.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, it kind of depends on the plane.
Okay.
So what I've found is that almost all planes will have a changing table, but the changing table can be really tiny, really fiddly, and kind of dangerous. So if you have purchased a seat for your kid, feel free to change them on the seat next to you. That actually works surprisingly well. Or if you have a free seat next to you, which honestly, at the moment with everything that's happening, it does happen quite a lot. So a spare seat. If you don't have a changing table on your plane, ask a flight attendant. They have let me change my son in the jump seat. They have found empty rows for me to change my son. Like, they have all these tips and tricks. More often than not, flight attendants are going to be your best friend when flying with a baby or a toddler. But like I said before, one of the biggest things is just to keep your routine simple. Don't try anything fancy you aren't already comfortable with. So, pad fold ahead of time, put them in the shell ahead of time before you even take off their clothes if you're using a new shell. Just keep it as simple as you possibly can, because you want to be in and out as fast as possible on a plane. You never know when you're going to hit some turbulence, and the last thing you want is a kid on an airplane changing table. It's not a good.
Has that been a moment for you?
Yes. Well, thankfully not for me, for my husband. I get hand over all changing duties when we are traveling, and no, I don't do that.
So the wrong guy, like,
sweetie. But yeah, and all airlines will let you bring a changing bag on board for free. So anything you want to bring, if you want to bring sanitizing wipes, which you should be bringing sanitizing wipes, if you want to bring, your own little changing pads to make it easier, anything you need, you can bring on board with you. And that definitely makes it a lot more comfortable process for everyone.
And I imagine it's probably just getting a little more challenging as he gets a little bit older.
It is. And you know what? Unless they've pooped, we do a change right before we board. We always board last, because you don't want to keep a toddler entertained on a plane any longer than you have to.
No, it's literally the worst idea when they ask you.
All infants and children board. It's like, no. Like, are you sure you want to keep my screaming 20-month-old on this plane and
for an extra hour?
Right. No, we always board last. We do a change right before we take off, and we use a booster. That's one of the reasons we bring 2 boosters. Mm-hmm. So we boost it. So I mean, like, a 3-hour flight, unless he's pooped, like, he's fine in that diaper. He can sit in that diaper for 3 hours, and then we change him when we get off. So
you try to avoid it.
Exactly. So it's only really on the transatlantic flights that we'd have to be doing multiple diaper changes, or, if he goes number 2. I mean, the booster, I think, is the biggest thing to help if you're, like, nervous about changing on a flight. The process of boarding, taxiing, takeoff, leveling off, that can take over an hour. Sometimes it can take 2 hours if you get stuck on the runway. So you want to be prepared for that and boost, get everyone changed, everyone comfortable ahead of time.
So bring your most absorbent diaper setup.
Yeah.
Whether that be like your flat with a booster
maybe,
or whatever current system you're using with a booster.
I often
think about it like a nap time or a bedtime.
Exactly. So I often will pack a workhorse, like a Green Mountain Diapers workhorse, and then I'll throw a Thirsties booster in there, and that'll.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thirsties boosters are great.
They're really good. they're so small. They roll up really small. So they're brilliant.
Oh yeah. And they're probably I know we were talking about flats and stuff, but like a booster is really easy to hand wash.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I have a million different types of, like I said, I have a local cloth diaper store that has a bunch of free stuff. I'm always rooting through and, like, pulling out every little natural I can find. So, I mean, a good hemp booster is going to get you so far, and they're so thin.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you have any other tips or tricks that you like to give parents about traveling and flying and all that adventure?
So, I mean, you can always go halfway. If going all in with cloth is really overwhelming, pack a disposable for the flight. You're not going to lose your cloth diaper credentials by doing that. You know what I mean?
And that's what I've done. I think one time I went with my sister, I disposable diapered on the plane, and then I had my cloth packed in my care, and I did it when I got to her house.
And that's completely fine. I mean, like, honestly, if you're going to be traveling, like, mid-December, we're going to be moving back to the UK, and we are leaving, where we are in Michigan. We're driving to Chicago. We're flying overnight. We're going to be getting to London. And then we have like a 2-hour train ride. And it's like, do I want to be carrying around a bunch of poopy diapers and, like, through all of that? Or do I want to check them in my luggage and just disposable diaper him? To be honest, I probably will cloth diaper because I've got it down at this point. But,
well, yeah, you're an expert at this point. But if it makes you nervous, stresses you out.
If me just saying that makes your palms sweat, then disposable diaper on the plane, it's fine. Also, I think that practicing, like, there's a lot to be said for practicing. If you have never traveled with cloth before and you're intimidated by hand washing or you're intimidated by flats, practice all of it ahead of time and see, is this doable for me? Like, how long does this take me? Is my kid, I mean,
a lot of people a lot of listeners might not cloth diaper or even to the grocery store.
Right.
So small outings can definitely be an easy transition.
So, I mean, like, you don't have to invest in a travel kit. If you already have a kit that you like, adapt it. You can do things like take your husband's old t-shirts and use those as flats. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go out and buy a $20 pack of flats if you don't want to. There's a lot of ways to adapt it to make it work. If you are dead set on using all-in-ones, then bring all-in-ones. That's completely fine. Again, you get a diaper bag. They don't say how big that diaper bag has to be. If you want to bring a weekender size diaper bag, do that,
That's a lot of diapers.
It's a lot of diapers.
But it's a lot of diapers. Well, and parents cloth diaper around the world. Mm-hmm. So there's always resources to support. There is such a fantastic group of cloth diaper moms in the UK. Yes, there's cloth diaper moms in Germany. There's cloth diapering parents in Spain. I had Romy on from Argentina. So there's lots of people to reach out to, or even to stock their pages. And like in 2020, the hit translate button works fantastic. Oh my God, I know. You can
speak into it and it like live translate. It's amazing. It's an amazing.
Oh yeah. Like language used to be such a barrier and it's totally not. I follow so many Spanish creators and I just you hit the translate button. It's like, oh wow, like look at all this great information that they're sharing.
Absolutely.
To support
and you can always, reach out to the local cloth diaper families, on Facebook or whatever and get the resources that you need. It works really, really well. I mean, like, I just try and tell people, don't be intimidated. If you can do it at home, you can do it while traveling.
Stop overthinking.
We still have to live our lives when we travel. We still have to find food to eat. We still have to shower. And we don't overthink those things. We just do them, and a cloth diaper is already part of your day. I mean, there are so many things that's stressful about traveling with kids. Cloth diapering isn't the only one. You know what I mean? Kids are just stressful. Like,
I hate meal time and nap time with kids.
I know. Like if you do baby-led weaning and traveling, you can definitely do cloth diapering and traveling. Mostly, it's all just about keeping chill. Do
you get to choose where you stay, or do you try to find places with laundry over hand washing? What's kind of like your preference?
Yeah. So definitely Airbnb is going to be your friend. There's actually, I'm pretty sure that there's a filter for laundry facilities. So when possible, I try and stay at an Airbnb or somewhere that has laundry available. Maybe even if it's just like a laundromat downstairs. If I think it's good if you can check ahead of time what kind of water is going to be there. I know that I said that earlier, but if you live somewhere, it's like where I live right now, we have very soft water. So, I use like less detergent than a lot of people might use. I don't have to use a water softener, all this stuff. And the first time I traveled somewhere with hard water, I was like panic buying borax at 10 p.m. trying to figure out what to do. There is no suds in my diaper wash. and
it's pretty like often you can just Google where you're staying.
Exactly. There's tons of resources online to show you what kind of water you have. So ahead of time, if you're able to check that, do. But I mean, beyond that, it's flats. They can survive anything.
Yeah, they're super easy. You get home and you can reset them. Worst case scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. This sounds really good and really easy. Yes, and like, I should have another baby and go travel with them.
So easy. It's so easy.
I don't know how it would be to travel with 3 kids.
I will say I do only have one baby at the moment. And I don't, like with 2 babies, maybe your scrub a bag might not quite be able to handle that much in it.
But you could get a place with a laundry. You might not be staying in a hotel. I'm less inclined to stay in a hotel with 2 kids. Actually, I did a camping trip where we got rained out, so I went to a hotel. And the hotel had laundry machine.
That's
At least
good.
Like in Canada, that's pretty common.
Yeah, that is good. I think I've only ever had to hand wash the diapers. I'm trying to think, like 5 times, and I've never had a moment.
A lot of time.
You know how much I traveled, you'd be like, oh. Yeah. If I think it's only ever been like 5 times, and each time there has never been a moment where I was like, oh crud, I completely misjudged this and I failed. I need to go buy disposables. There's never ever been that moment. A scrub bag can only hold so many diapers, so once it's a bit full, I just give it a quick wash. I mean, I don't know if your listeners are familiar. I know you've done the flats and hand washing stuff, how easy scrub bags are, how quickly you wash.
I have one. Yeah, I have one. Maybe I'll have to
Right.
pull it out.
I mean, like you can do an entire wash in like 15 minutes, basically, because you're just really, really scrubbing them really fast, depending on how many diapers you have or how soiled they are.
When I had two in diapers, I kind of got turned off the scrubber bag just because I had so many diapers.
Yeah,
but when I had one, pretty easy and manageable.
Absolutely.
I have to pull it out and share pictures so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, a scrubber bag is basically, it's a bag that rolls up at the top and inside it has a mini washboard, right? So you're manually scrubbing those diapers clean pretty quickly. And my scrubber routine is that it's like, I do a quick pre-wash with some cool water, empty it, wring them out, put them back in, fill it back up with, hottish water, do it again for about 5 minutes, empty it out, squeeze them out, fill it up and without the detergent, and then do that a couple times until the water's clear. And I have never had an issue with dirty diapers.
Oh,
so
I like your routine. Okay. I'm going to have to write that down when I listen to it.
I sped through it pretty quickly there, but it's still the same pre-wash, main wash philosophy. It's just, with only 6 diapers at a time type of thing.
Yeah.
And, honestly, when it comes to water, most of the time, if you're hand washing, like let's say you're camping, for example, even if you don't have potable water, if you have water that's not stagnant, that's fine. You're not drinking it. It's your laundry. It's what your baby is going to be pooping in. Like it's fine. Like it doesn't have to be perfectly filtered water.
You can kind of play around with the detergent, especially when you're hand washing. You can play around. Like you start small.
I do about a tablespoon. I do about a tablespoon of detergent, a powdered detergent, when I'm doing a pre-wash, and maybe 2, but usually just 1 as well for the main wash.
I was like 2 is kind of. I would be like suds for days.
Yeah, a lot of
too.
suds. Well, it depends on the detergent you're using, and then. You just rinse and rinse and rinse at the end. I mean, if you can get a bathtub, a hotel with a bathtub, you're golden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes those are hard to come by.
I know. Well, in Europe, definitely, it's a little bit trickier, but...
More. We stayed somewhere here locally and we didn't have a bathtub. And I was like, what is this crazy?
Oh my God, you were roughing it.
I'm 6 feet tall. So I'm always looking forward to a hotel bathtub because sometimes they're a little bit longer than my own one that I don't fit into.
Oh, no.
So I was like, darn.
That was always a disappointment, huh? Yeah.
Next time. All right. Well, I think you've covered so many amazing points today about traveling and cloth diapering. That I think would be so helpful and insightful for people. Did we miss any? Did you have any other things before we kind of wrap it up?
I really hope so. I hope that people realize that, it's not as complicated or time consuming or it takes up as much space in their luggage as they might think, that in reality.
It's so great to hear the story directly from you too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like my travel kit takes up as much space as a pack of disposable diapers. And if I can pack that light, for a family of 3, just 2 backpacks and a computer bag, then I think anyone can do it, honestly. And
I was looking around to see if I had any flats, but I'm like 10 flats is about the size of a binder.
Oh yeah, maybe. It's so small. And I roll them up, and even then you can put them in a vacuum bag if you want to. And I always recommend carrying them in your carry-on just in case your luggage gets lost. So have your diapers with you. So your kit is already there with you. You don't have to stress about, your diapers going missing. They're all there, kept safe. And, especially if you're flying. Well, a lot of the reason why a lot of people choose a cloth diaper is because of the environmental impact that disposables have, right? And how much better for the environment cloth is. And flying is so harmful for the environment, and I do it all the time. And the guilt I feel about that is pretty intense. Cloth at least helps me offset that guilt a little bit by knowing that I'm not then on top of that contributing with disposables. Or even if I'm grabbing a disposable or 2 for the flight, it's still less than 2 weeks of disposables might be. And anyone who cloths already does a good enough job though. So if you do disposables, then you know what? Give yourself.
And it's all those little things that add up. 1 diaper is 1 diaper.
Exactly. Just do your best. And if you're going on vacation and you just want to leave your cloth at home, if you want a vacation from cloth too, that's fine.
Yes. And I think about it there's definitely lots of different people. It's okay if you're going to Mexico and you just want to use disposables for the week. But if you also don't want to use disposables, it's cool too. Yeah. There's options. And it's nice to know that there's options.
Consider bringing covers at the very least. Because if you are a full-time cloth parent and then you try and swap to disposables, you will be so disappointed at how badly they perform. So bring a couple covers to throw over.
Probably should be a good like warning to anybody listening that like if it's your first time using disposable diapers when you travel, you should definitely trial run that at home.
Exactly. Fit right. Oh my gosh.
It sounds hilarious talking about it in real life, but it can be kind of a whirlwind.
It is they're very, what's the word I would use? Disappointing. They can be very disappointing.
It can be a little bit of a learning curve if you're familiar and comfortable with something else. Yes. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Margaret. I had such a pleasure chatting with you. That is show 61 of the Cloth Diaper Podcast. You can find the show notes at www.clothdiaperpodcast/show-61. Today's episode was brought to you by Kinder Cloth Diapers. Be sure to check them out, www.kinderclothdiapers.com, or find them on Instagram. I'm so thankful for Margaret for sharing her story. If you want to share your story on the Cloth Diaper Podcast, I am taking Cloth Diaper Podcast guests again. And what that means is send me an email. Like if you want to share your story, if you're a brand, if you've got a tip that you want to share, you're a blogger, you're a mama, you're a brand, you're a whatever, send me an email. That's all it takes. I accept everybody and anyone. I have yet to turn away anyone. So everybody's story is valid. Your story is important and you have wisdom to share. Thanks.